Well, good evening, and welcome, and thank you so much for joining me this evening, the 17th of August, 2024. My name is Silver Sidiel, coming straight to you from the UK. I want to thank those who are joining me from uh, TikTok. Thank you so much. Those joining me on Instagram, those joining me on Facebook, and those joining me on YouTube as well. And of course, as this is a Saturday night and it is a talk and sip, I always like to ask, what are you drinking? Which is a simple thing. But I'm gonna have coconut water today. I'm gonna have coconut water, um, and just a small little mix up right here, and some water. Not into any wines or anything today as well. But tonight, today is what do you call it? Today is Marcus Garvey Day. Marcus Garvey Day. Today is the 17th of August, and there was a proclamation which was done some time ago, and it's Patrick Linton said, "Now therefore I, Patrick Linton Allen, this Governor General of Jamaica, member of the Order of the Nation, Knight Grand Cross of the most distinguished Order of Saint Michael." And Saint George, Commander of the Order of Distinction of Governor General of Jamaica, do hereby proclaim and make known that the 17th day of August in each year shall be designed as Marcus Garvey Day and shall be so observed. Right? 17th of August, 19th, and shall so be observed. Uh, and that is very interesting, you know. And I was looking at it earlier today, in talking about Marcus Garvey, and Marcus Garvey legacy is one of profound influence and inspiration, particularly within the African diaspora. Born in Jamaica in 1887. Of course, for the record, he was born just not far from me, St. Anne's Bay. Oh, and also just for the record, um, Kamala Harris' dad is also from St. Anne. you know, I mean, not Otrius, of course, but Garvey became a Tory figure in the early 20th century, advocating for Black nationalism, economic independence, and Pan Africanism. Through his Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, he sought to unite people of African descent across the globe, encouraging pride in their heritage and promoting the idea of self-sufficient and unified Africa. His vision for Black empowerment resonated deeply, particularly at a time when racial discrimination and colonialism, what should I say, were very rampant. And uh, and and one of the things that we see about Marcus Garvey a lot is every time, any situation, any circumstances, people always talk about the teachings of Marcus Garvey, the teachings of Marcus Garvey. How is the teaching of Marcus Garvey resonated today? How is it used? The legacy of Marcus Garvey. That is something which is crucial. I'll come on to that later. But also as well, I sort of tagged on to the topic about tackling crime in Jamaica and part of solution. Is there a link with the legacy of Marcus Garvey, the legacy of our people, and also crime? You saw and people have heard about the killing in Clarendon of recent days. I'm in the UK, of course, and you hear it instantly. I'm in the UK, and of course, I've heard about the earthquake almost instantly as well. So we're in a global world at the same time. 8 persons killed, snuffed out just like that. That is not really good. That's not really helpful at the same time. Marcus Garvey said, "Up, you mighty people, up, you mighty race." You know, and so therefore, this is something that I'm going to look at, and I'm hoping to have different guests tonight. I'm hoping to have Mr. Antoine Campbell, president of Marcus Garvey Party, also Uche, um, yeah, and O'Neill, and a couple other persons as well. We'll see how that go. But let's start the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Hey, good evening, Anil. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing good, Silver, and how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain. It's it's a nice day, very relaxed day. Got my doors open as well. It's a lovely day in the UK. There's been some fire in the UK at a place called the Somerset House.
What
In
kind is
central.
like what kind of fire?
Well, I don't know. They say I don't think it's any arson or anything, but there's over 100 firefighters there tonight. Today. It's a massive it's like a tourist
Hmm.
hotspot. You know, I remember
Mm,
I remember years ago I went to that place, Onion. I remember years ago I went to that place. Um, I was working with a law firm and I was just a clerk, an outdoor clerk. This is maybe about 2014, no, 2005 or so. And I
mhm.
remember I went before the judge. I was renewing something which is called an interim care order. Never
Right.
forget the judge named Judge Bassett Cross, and and I went to renew the order or something like that, and I
Maybe
think he
we're
said,
family.
"Eh, oh,
Judge.
oh, what? Oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 interesting," and and he said no, and I said no, you can't do that, and I said sorry. I was just like a fresh green guy, you know what I mean?
uh,
Just just working with this firm, but anyway, that's it there, and of course you have heard about the latest thing which is happening in the UK regarding the riots there,
yes.
and a lot of persons here, a lot of persons who were involved in the riot, they are now being charged. Well, they have been charged, and they have been going to court, and they have been, what should I say? They've been getting some
Mm,
really hefty sentence for being proponents of those crimes. But what is so very crucial on it is the internet, social media.
hmm.
Right, they're policing the social media
We
very
need it.
hard. It's a
Yes.
bit. It reminds me. It's like maybe they were talking with Andrew Holness, Chuck and Trace.
Are they maybe connecting with what Trudeau did during the riots, the
Mm,
truckers' riots, 2 years or 3 years back?
yeah, yeah. So and how's things over there? I see Trump is having a big conference there, big in Pennsylvania now.
Yeah, it's campaign season, so both candidates are crisscrossing, especially the battleground states, because
Mm,
the thing for folks outside of the US, even though we have, 50 plus states, it always come down to three or four states that actually decide the election. So Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, those are the three states that typically
Chuck and Trace.
um, actually decide the election because California and New York typically go Democrats, and those are big states with electoral colleges. So it comes down to three or four states. So if you notice the patterns, is that candidates will go and focus a lot of the messaging on these states and trying to get out the votes because those are the states that not saying that votes don't matter in all the places, but these are the ones that actually decide the elections. They're called
Is,
battleground
yeah,
states.
yeah. Is there any sort of talked about any sort of reform in this whole electoral college? Because they keep saying all the while that it runs between a few states. So therefore, it gives the impression like the rest is somewhat relevant, but not that relevant.
I think whoever architected the electoral college, I believe what they were trying to do is give voices to smaller states. So
Mm,
if you just take California, California is one of the most populous state. I think they're the considered, if they were a country, probably in the top 10 from an economic power perspective. If you take a state like Maine, the population is smaller. And just
mm,
remember, congressional seats are apportioned based on the population. So the architect has said, the way you sort of get the voice of the people, you do this electoral colleges, and that's why if you're a small state, you still have two senators,
mm.
right? So there's some wisdom in it. The question becomes, you know, who are those thought leaders that would dig into the history of it and come up with something that give voices to everyone across all the different states. But
mm,
it's there for a reason. Some people don't like it. The interesting thing is that is of recent electoral votes, you see most people questioning the electoral college, but for the existence of this country, it has been a part of our voting process. But other people think differently.
yes, yeah. Well, anyway, today, is Marcus Garvey Day, according to the proclamation by Patrick Linton Allen
Mhm.
some years ago, with Portia Simpson. It was made very clear in the proclamation that it is not a holiday, you know, uh, but it is a desire of the people of Jamaica to pay tribute to those persons whose contribution to the developments of Jamaica has been very outstanding. And I
Why not
believe
make it
that,
a why not make it a national holiday, right? If you just look at the lineage of Marcus Garvey and you look at the impact that he has had across the world, just take
yeah,
we here in the US, we have a Martin Luther King Day.
yes,
And there's some that says Marcus Garvey was a huge influence on the
yes,
Black activism movement within the US. So if that's the case, and if he's such a great figure in terms of him trying to create bridges between Blacks around the world, why not create a holiday for him? He's a national
yeah.
hero, right?
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in shortly Antoine Campbell, and it is
Mhm.
said the youngest president of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party. Antoine Campbell, they said, made history by becoming the youngest president of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, MGPPP. Um, and I've
Is
been
that
growing up in different.
sorry, is that a political
Mm,
party in Jamaica?
it is a political party. It is a political party as
In
well,
Jamaica.
and in Jamaica,
Interesting.
and he's going to come on and talk about, because there's also the Jamaica Unity Alliance,
Mhm.
which they're sort of working together. You remember Uche, who
Oh
came
yeah,
on a couple
yeah.
of times? Yeah, he's going to come on later. And one of the things that Uche was saying to me that is very important as well, that these smaller minor parties work together in a strategic way as well. But I'm going to bring on Antoine Campbell, because he can sort of shed some light
Yeah.
onto the legacy
So
as well.
as you're bringing on, I think
Yeah.
there's one, and I'm probably gonna bastardize the quote, but
Mm.
as I was reflecting on what does Marcus Garvey mean, I think Marcus Garvey, I think, passed away in 1940. I think is when he passed away, and he created a movement to try to unify Africans around the world, build a
Yeah.
bridge.
Mm.
And one would say if Marcus Garvey came back today, he would be disappointed in terms of the progress of Blacks around the world, right? So the
Mm.
question becomes, how do we take a day like this and reflect to say, what do we need to do differently? And I'll read a quote that I think is probably one of his most popular quote is, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and cultures is like a tree without roots. And
Yes.
when you just look at what he tried to create, businesses, I think the Black Star Liner is what he created, restaurants, a newspaper, right?
Mm.
That was the 20s. He died the 40s. Look at the plight of Blacks around the world. What has changed, right? So
Yes.
I think it might be something, Silburn, for folks as you celebrate Marcus Garvey to think about the impact he has had on the
Yes.
Black community within the US and around the world, and how and what do we need to do to catalyze the
Mm.
things that he so actually, one would say, I think if I have it right, he was convicted of wide fraud related to the Black Star Line movement and deported
Yeah.
back to Jamaica, right? He sacrificed a lot to demonstrate that the Black empowerment is real. So it's
Mm.
something for folks to reflect on.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Welcome, Antoine. Sir Campbell, how are you doing? Let me. So let me. Can mute. Okay.
Greetings.
All right.
Greetings. It's my pleasure to be here. Greetings, O'Neill. I see you. I see you.
Hey, Antoine, how you doing?
Okay. What are you drinking, honey? Sorry, what are you drinking, honey?
Coconut water.
Hey, get out of here. Anton, what are you drinking? What are you drinking, Anton?
Arizona, 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 Arizona.
What is Arizona? What is Arizona? What is that?
It's an energy
A
drink. It's
tea.
an energy drink.
Oh, it's
Uh,
a E.
Man, that's a big energy drink you're drinking, my brother.
Well, I'm having some coconut water as well tonight. You know, Anton, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Anton, you're not 21 still, are you?
I'm 22. I just turned 22 Thursday.
Happy birthday to you! I was reading your bio on the papers, and it said 21. I said, okay, let me see if he's still 21. You look like 16 still, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And as today is Marcus Garvey Day, based on the proclamation, somebody sent it to me this morning, and jagged my memory, and I said, 17, and I said, let me just deal with this today. But tell us about the legacy of Marcus Garvey, but also tell us about yourself and your party, and how it all come together in a way. Antoine, go for it.
All right. So let me move into it. Keep it short and spicy as well. But so I've derived from poverty. I have, my mother raised the five of us.
Mm.
You know, with nothing. I come from board house. One bed, one plate. After I had to share the utensils with my brothers and sisters.
Mm.
So poverty is my background.
Yes.
So for the poor, I will always have a soft spot and understanding, and will always relate to their situation. And that's something that I can never discard myself of, keeping away from the poor or setting them one side and, brushing them off. No, because
Yes.
I know the struggle and I've been there too. Still in the struggle. Today is Garvey Day. O'Neill really hit the nail on the head by saying, why have they yet to make the 17th of August um, a national heroes day for Garvey?
Mm.
But when you look at that, you will see the hypocrisy in it all. You know, a day like this, and the Jamaican populace still don't know who Marcus Garvey is. The only thing they know is that he's our first national hero, and he used to have a party. He used to have a organization called UNIA, and
Yeah.
some know, some still remember the PPP. But the work of Marcus Garvey is still swept under the rug, and that has been strategically done. So the question he asks really hit the nail on the head, and I can dwell, I can dig it up, tear it apart, but I don't know if time will permit me.
Yes. Sir. Mm.
I would say Garveyism has died in Jamaica. Garveyites has lost their way in Jamaica. Because how Garveyism, let me ask you a question. If Garveyism is still prominent in Jamaica, the mass shooting that caused 8 lives and I think
Mm.
10 injured, how is that so? If Garveyism it was still um effective in Jamaica, why are we still importing 75% of our foods when Garvey preach about self reliance?
Mm.
If Garveyism is still prominent in our society, why have youths lost their way, turning to bleaching, liquor drinking, smoking, and don't even know why they're here? So Garveyism has really, really, really dwelled down to the point where, as I stated before, because we have been advocating that the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey to be introduced in the school system. We have went
Mm.
even further by saying we will have workshop seminars to teach lecturers and teachers about Garveyism so that they can disperse it to the students, and that is ignored. Yet to become, we are up to now. I think last night we have promised got promised from the leader of opposition that yes, it's something that they're looking into. Yes, it's something that they will do. But we got that promise years ago, 2012. Still awaiting that. The
Yeah.
philosophy when Liberty Hall in Jamaica. Liberty Hall is a daycare museum,
Mm.
museum slash daycare. That is embarrassing to Garvey name.
Mm.
The UNIA people can literally the Liberty Hall. People can literally walk past the building and don't know what it's about, what purpose it serves, whatsoever. Some think it's just a library. That is disgraceful. That is how they reduce this man to just colors and image and slogans. And
Mm.
that is unacceptable straight across the board.
So, so Antoine, let me ask a question. So, there's many different influence of Marcus Garvey, and Garveyism was one of them, right? So, if you take Rastafarian, I think the flag was initially from sort of the UNIA. So, could you say that Garvey influenced the Rastafarian movement, and therefore, how do you collaborate with the Rastafarian movement to get to what you just talked about?
Well, I've been in collaboration with the Rastafarian movements. 12 Tribe, I can call some name, but 12 Tribe, I was introduced to them. They have welcomed me in their chambers.
Mm.
And I'm sure that if a project of mine was to be introduced to 12 Tribe and the RMO, it will be welcome and endorsed by them. But with Rasta, um, I don't want to step on toes, but I have to keep it real.
You can
I
step on
have to,
foot then. Step on foot. Step on foot.
yeah, I have to keep it real. The Rasta community, it's a diverse one, you know. Um, and we must be real with ourselves. Black people, the greatest weapon that is found against black people is one, lack of knowledge, and two, being disorganized. Not saying the Rastafarian community is disorganized, but it is diverse. When you
Mm.
talk to one Rastaman I say, boy, Selassie a God. When you talk to another one I say, boy, Selassie is just a man. When you talk to another one, and another one I say, boy, him surpass Rastafarianism when he wear the locks. So it is just diverse to the point where it seems as if everybody do their own thing. Nobody now have a prescribed philosophy that they are working towards, are working with. You understand? And then if we should really talk truth now, the Rastafarian community can really be an impactful, effective, powerful one if they were fully structured to the point where one body, one aim, one destiny. If they were like that, the Rastafarian community would be well recognized globally. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But they are diverse to the point where an average man can't understand it. Because one is saying, boy, it's just a lifestyle. One is saying it's a religion. One is saying, boy, me just go with the flow. Me just feel like we're lots. You understand me? So if the Rastafarian culture and community was one body, then they will
Mm.
get full recognition, full support, and the government of Jamaica and governments across the world will pay them way much recognition and respect.
So,
And don't,
I'll
Well,
do a follow up, Anton. So, if you just take, so I'm in Virginia, right? So, if you look at, Ryden says, you look at the activism movement in the U.S., you look at the civil rights movement. One trace it back to the lineage of Marcus Garvey. So, if Marcus Garvey was able to influence Black Americans, why do you think in the country of birth, and you sort of touch on some of it, that the mantle of Marcus Garvey hasn't bear fruit as some of the areas within the United States, especially around the civil rights movements?
As I stated before, O'Neill, people don't really understand what Marcus Garvey was doing. Marcus Garvey was a revolutionary.
Mm.
Simply put, he was a revolutionary. Oh my God, that man was far, far beyond time itself, right? And after his death, you know, he stated that you might you might can kill the body, but his cubs will still be around. And to me now, the cubs of Marcus Garvey really, really and truly weak because they are yet to carry on the work of Marcus Garvey. Africa is still disunion, disorientated. Yes, they are uniting now because Burkina Faso, we see what's happening in Burkina Faso. But the
Yeah.
continent of Africa is still not one. The UNIA is still shaky. You understand what I mean? And even with the PPP, we have it has been infiltrated and sabotaged, and blocked, as stated before with Liberty Hall. Liberty Hall, UNIA should be embracing the PPP, right? And now there is a diversion between the two organizations. Now you have one UNIA, you have another UNIA. So they really and truly trying
Mm.
to
Can I just,
destroy
yeah.
work and legacy of Marcus Garvey. And
Can I
that is
just
that has been allowed by the Cubs of Marcus Garvey.
can I just ask a question there? In regards to Marcus Garvey, because as O'Neill alluded a while ago, that in the States, the teachings of Marcus Garvey have been very influential. Marcus, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, even Huma Johnson, Dr. Huma Johnson, everybody talks about Marcus Garvey, the legacy, the teachings of Marcus Garvey. For Jamaica, are we saying that, okay, sometimes they say a prophet is not recognized in his own place. I mean, for Jamaica, like how you have an O'Neill and Attorney, you might have heard about this Vision 2030 for argument's sake, which is a collective thing whereby Jamaica is working towards as a bipartisan political movement or movements towards. Are you saying that in Jamaica right now, the teachings of Marcus Garvey is more symbolic but not effective? It is not taught in schools. It is not um, it's not from a leadership perspective. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Right. You are so 100% correct. It as I stated before, it is just reduced. Marcus Garvey work, that great man work, is just reduced to colors and symbols and quotes. You understand? The reason why I believe my peers acting this way. All right, crime and violence for starters. I believe we'll dive in that soon. But if the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey is really pushed into the school, starting from primary and secondary institution, then I believe that will kind of curb crime and violence because ones will look into themselves and say, boy, then you mean to tell me that I have this capability? You mean to tell me that this is what my race has done over the years? How can I be a part of history? How can I write my own history? You understand? But because that is disregard and throw one side, and my peers are just being taught about whatsoever the case may be, nothing relevant. So when them leave high school, them just leave with a paper and is can't be able to work effectively, I think effectively in society. Then they are just another pawn, another puppet, another tool to be used in the system. And so I have seen where Garvey name, Garvey work, Garvey philosophies is deliberately pushed back, and colonial crowns just give our people a little snippets of it,
Mm.
because Liberty Hall in itself, Liberty Hall should be a place where scientists, an institution where scientists, philosophers, research come out of. Instead, right now it's a daycare, it's a museum that most people don't know about. So that's ah.
So
Sometimes it hurt me. It hurt me.
so
It hurt
so
me to
so,
where
so
you know.
no, so Anton, I want to pick up on something you said early in the conversation. I think you touched on the fact that we have crime in Jamaica and the influence of bleaching, etc. Right? I don't know if there's any scientific study that has been done, but there are people who would have said that, Vibes Cartel, who just came out, was very influential on the youths in terms of that new cultural norm of bleaching, wearing your pants. There's some American culture seeping into our culture. But given you have so many Jamaican kids, right, whether it's poor or kids of means that are
Mm.
digital natives, they have social media, they have TikTok, right? Why not use those mediums to get the message of economic empowerment, racial pride, right? Those things that Marcus Garvey talked about, right? In his message. Why not use those medium? Because when I go to Jamaica and I just came back, you don't pass anyone without a phone in their hands, right? You don't pass. If you go to the AC hotel, everyone is trying to create the next Instagram influencer. So
Yeah.
why not leverage those platform to send the message that Marcus Garvey preached?
Well, it is something that I am doing, not will be doing. It is something that I have started. Um, I think next month to come, we will be launching our own radio program, internet radio program, where we will use that platform to get the message across. So yes, we will be on social media and on YouTube streaming, pushing the message of Marcus Garvey. But I have to keep it real. Those things, I don't want to be the regular blogger to just take the phone and just start talking about Garvey and Garvey work and what is to be done and what is going to come. I want it to be a representation of 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 another person self. I don't know if that makes sense. So that when they log on to the platform, they can say, hey, this is who I see as a representation of, and I see myself through this person or through this person teaching. You understand? So it's gonna take funding. And that's what we're working on. It's gonna take
Yeah.
mass funding,
Mm.
and that's what we're working on before we can officially
Yeah.
launch it to the airwave of social media. So
And
we're working.
Antoine, yeah, Antoine, I just picking up from what O'Neill said a while ago, and I'm gonna bring in Jacqueline Brand shortly. I just followed you on Instagram a while ago. I just followed you on Instagram from my two platforms as well. And there's something, an advice I would give though is starting to share the information daily or whatever through different clips or whatever like that. Sometimes it is, while the funding is crucial and is needed, but sometimes what you have in your hands now can be used and start to push the momentum, pushing the movement. Because I believe a lot of things is that inspiration and motivation, and you see, people are hungry. People are hungry for direction, right? You have the killing recently in Jamaica. It is through poverty, through different factors. And I believe that people are hungry for direction. People are hungry for a way forward. And I believe as a young man like yourself, like Uji as well, can make such a fundamental difference. But not wait. Also, not to wait until you have certain things in place, but to use it what you have now and to build. Because it's unfortunate, though I must say that um, things go viral, which don't make no sense sometimes. The
But
things
but
that go viral are things which are very silly. You know what I mean?
Silver,
Things like yeah,
if I could follow up that
yeah.
with an advice, there's now a reggae artist named Nige Boy, who, he's eating up the airwaves. He was discovered on Instagram. Someone saw a clip on it, and then it became viral. So
Yeah.
if you look across any social media, all
Yes.
it takes is one person be impacted. I was actually listening to an interview that Buju Banton did, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about the Garvey message, right? He talked about how that influenced him. But imagine if you just look at the arc of Buju Banton's career, where he started out and he found Rastafarian. I think someone said Garvey wasn't about Rastafarian. We didn't say Garvey was not about, it was an influence. So if you just take those message, right, you will have folks who will latch onto those motivation stuff and be able to help you multiply, right? So something for you to consider.
Sorry.
There's a
Um,
feedback. There's a feedback coming. Silver, and there's a
I
feedback.
yeah. I think it was from Jacqueline. I don't know. I just stopped it anyhow.
Yeah, so
Keep going
something for
on.
you to think about, Antoine, as you think about how to expand the message.
Yeah. Let me just bring in Jacqueline. How are you doing? Are you there?
I'm okay.
Hi. Good.
I'm
Good. Good.
good.
Good. Good. Good. Good. Good. Jacqueline Bryan. She's the Jamaican Association of Social Workers in Jamaica. Today is Marcus Garvey Day, the 17th. And I've got Antoine Campbell, who is the president of the youngest of the Marcus Garvey Party. What's your take on the legacy of Marcus Garvey and the impact it has on Jamaica at present day today? And are you a Garveyite?
Um, well, actually, I was because my mother
Yes.
and all and that is what it is. My mother, and I remember just before COVID, we went to a Garvey event in Half a Tree, August 17, and my influence in terms of Garvey is because of my mother's influence.
Mm,
And that's where it needs to start. Your home is the first, and unfortunately a lot of persons don't know, parents don't know enough, because when I share about Marcus Garvey, persons, why is he a national hero? And here's what it is. Both political party in Jamaica speak of Norman Manley and Alexander Bustamante because they're founders of those political parties.
mm,
And they have the financial wherewithal to push Norman Manley and Alexander Bustamante. So the Jamaican landscape, you will hear about them.
yes.
You will know about them and what they have done, and they make it a point of duty to speak to the contribution that they have made. And that's that. So you people know that. But not a lot of persons know about Marcus Garvey because there's not much push as in term of government.
Mm.
There
I've,
has been persons who have been loving for Garveyism to be taught in school a lot more than just Jamaica Day or Heroes Day. And because again of the issue of, because I put us up video some year ago about on Instagram about talking about this person who coined the phrase "Black is beautiful,"
yes.
and that was Marcus Messiah Garvey.
Mm,
And how many people know that? How many people know that the CIA patterned themselves off Marcus Messiah Garvey? How many people know that Marcus Messiah Garvey had UNIA in so many different countries, not only English speaking countries,
mm,
branches of UNIA? How many people know that Malcolm X, Martin Luther King,
mm.
Louis Farrakhan was influenced by Marcus Messiah Garvey? So when you speak, I know of him because of the influence my mother had on me and how she ensured that we knew of Marcus Garvey and his contribution. And that is where we need to start in the home. Unfortunately, I'm not our parents. My father knew
Yeah.
too, and they made sure that we're influenced. My father is no longer around. But that education starts in the home. And my mother, because she was a part of the UNIA as a child, made sure that we knew about Marcus Messiah Garvey and his contribution and what he has done.
You know, when I read the
But
sorry, sorry, Jacqueline, you're saying something?
go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
No, and go
When
ahead,
I
Sylvia.
read when I read the proclamation, and where it says, whereas it is a desire of the people of Jamaica to pay tribute to those whose persons whose contributions to the development of Jamaica has been outstanding in a manner that allows our people to show greater appreciation to them and celebrate their contributions in a more meaningful way. And whereas the right excellent Marcus Garvey was an articulate and relentless advocate who during his entire life took unto himself the concerns of the poor, oppressed, black people of Jamaica and the world, traveling extensively across several continents in his quest to bring change to their circumstances, while also providing leadership among his people in Jamaica and abroad and promoting black pride and consciousness among the masses of people worldwide. So the big question now is, I think we sort of said it in a way, how we can take what he has done and to sort of, is like starting afresh in a way, isn't it? It's like starting afresh.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Uche, sorry,
Sylvan,
sorry,
before
audience.
you,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
if I remember, I learned about Marcus Garvey in high school,
Mm,
right? There was a project that was launched some time ago. I don't know what year, to reinvigorate Marcus Garvey teachings in the school, right?
yes.
So I remember, we both, went to at Edwin Allen. I learned about Marcus Garvey. So unless the curriculums has changed,
Yes,
we
it
don't
has changed.
they don't teach it anymore. But that's how
It has changed. We no
I got.
longer have
Mm.
it's our curriculum is about making sure that our students are prepared for examination,
Okay, so
which
they
is
took that out of
CSEC,
the school.
which is CSEC examination.
Hmm.
And our focus is on Jamaica Day, and that's when it comes out.
Gotcha.
So it's an event that happens, but it's not something that is well for high school because that's where I'm at, right? Um, it's not something that is rolled out
Anymore. So you don't
anymore.
have to write the essay about Marcus Garvey and his
No,
teaching anymore. Oh wow.
no, you don't. You don't.
Mm.
And it's not only Marcus Garvey. It's about the rest of our national heroes and what they have contributed. It only comes up on Jamaica Day where you put a display up. GIS offers an essay competition that you can win prizes for, and basically that's it. But it's not a part and part of our curriculum anymore.
So
Gotcha.
it is a bit like some sort of ticking the boxes, lip service thing to say we're going through the motion. Uche, Action Now JA. Welcome and thank you for joining. Marcus Garvey, the legacy, the teaching. As a young man, and I'm glad Antoine is young, Action Now is young, O'Neill is young, I'm young. Exactly, we're all young people here. Action Now, are you there? Yeah? Can you hear me?
Oh
Action? Uche?
Greetings, Mr.
Yes.
Studio.
Mm.
Greetings to your panel. Greetings to you.
Think we're cutting out at the same time, Uche. Mm. We're cutting out. Okay, Antoine, let me go on to Antoine. I'm not. Yeah, Antoine.
Greetings.
Yeah, Antoine. Yes. Uh, um, we can keep going around, and I think we have already accepted that the teachings and the legacy is not being exported to the people. What is the solution, the way how this can be done? And then I'm going to go into the issue about even the crime in Jamaica and to see if there's some lack of pride at the same time, lack of black pride. You know?
Well, first, the government of Jamaica, both the no government JLP and the opposition, need to first identify the areas in which they have went wrong, where Marcus Garvey is concerned,
Mm,
in terms of it not being taught in school, in terms of embracing that it was from the manifesto, the then manifesto from the PPP, where Michael Manley um, include like the 8 hours workshop and so much more. The PPP take embrace and take on and add to their program and manifesto. So they
mm,
first to highlight the atrocities that they have um done over the years to Marcus Garvey by first apologizing that it was because of them who allowed Marcus Garvey to be put away in jail. It was because of them who reason why Marcus Garvey philosophies and opinions are not being taught in school. And it's
mm,
because of them why Marcus Garvey UNIA, the organization, is not fully established and known to the Jamaican people. And first, they need to acknowledge all of that. State give a public apology. And then secondly, start working with the organization UNIA being one, and include the PPP in their activities and their objectives to show the Jamaican people that it is not all about us. We
mm,
don't have all the answers. So therefore, we are looking towards the different organizations, different groups, different parties, different movements, UNIA being one, for some of the solution. And that is what democracy is all about. And that is what a good leader displays his characteristics. But
yeah.
they're not going to do that. Let us
Okay.
not fool ourselves.
Yeah.
It is not a part of them to do that. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. Kwesi said it's the leader who should instigate the message of Garvism. They are too frightened for black unity. Uche, are you there? Uche?
Yes, Mr. Sidiel. Greetings to
Yeah.
the team. Greetings to your audience.
Yes, please. Yeah. So yes, your thoughts on the today, the 17th of August, Marcus Garvey Day, the impact, the legacy of Garvey, and as a young person yourself, you speak to a lot of young people. What are young people actually saying, or what are their feedback? What's your views in regard to Marcus Garvey, and what are you doing, in a sense, to really push Marcus Garvey teachings and legacy?
All right. So in my neck of the woods, not much is being done regarding the teachings of Marcus Garvey. As I'm not sure what her name is, but as our elder mother here said, I mean
Miss
it's just, yes, Miss Brian, yeah. It is just that certain time of the year we really try to pay homage to our great leaders and our ancestors, right? It is not something that is consistent, or it is taught through the nation in our schools of the great contributions that they have made to the society, right?
Mm,
So that the youths can embody our great ancestors, right? What I try to do is the part that I take away from Marcus Garvey personally is the self-governance, the unification, self-reliance, right?
Mm.
That is the part that I have taken away from the life that Marcus Garvey have lived, right? And I'm incorporating that right now in my political moves, in my social moves. It's all about self-reliance as a community. Let us pool our resources together as a people, both intellectual, otherwise, right, and deal with the issues that we need to deal with. You understand? So those are the things that I'm really pushing from a Marcus Garvey standpoint: self-government, self-reliance, you understand, dependency on oneself. But not much youngsters today are really talking about Marcus Garvey, because the agenda is not to have us unite. The agenda is not to have us, achieve the fullest potential as a black nation. You understand? That is not the agenda. The agenda is to divide us, to conquer us, to manipulate us, to weaken our spirits, so that at the end of the day, whatever agenda of any other group of people can be put forward. You understand? So I just hope that, I mean, as Antoine said, the government is not going to do all of this. That's the truth. The EU cause, EU pays the piper, cause the tune, right? The government is in bed with a lot of agencies and a lot of people, so they're not going to do that, right? They're not going to empower the people of Jamaica. They're not going to empower us to be great. They're not going to do that. So we will have to take up the mantle. You understand? For those of us who want to unite and we want to be great, we will have to unite and demonstrate to ourselves and to our nation that we have what it takes to be a great nation.
Um, Jackie, the point which is just mentioned by Uche a while ago, like, I think you got to unmute yourself, Jackie, if anything. Uh, Uche said that it's not going to come from the leadership of the government, and also Kwesi said as well, not from the leadership of the government. But what we are seeing now for today is that a lot of movements are not led by the government. A lot of changes are things which are happening are not led by government. It is by the influence and the influences around. Do you believe that influencers or persons should be the one leading the way, or
They can
or
be the one who are leading the way because they're leading the way in a lot of other areas.
yeah? I was gonna ask,
Persons
and
are looking up to them.
I was just gonna put
Um,
in. I was just gonna put in the second bit of it is that is Marcus Garvey relevant today? I just want to drop that one in there as well. Just drop that there for people. Yeah.
very relevant.
Mm,
Very relevant. Self-reliance. He what is on social media now today about um self-love and self-care and respecting of self.
mm,
That was something that Marcus Mosiah Garvey was talking about long before
yes.
everybody else was talking about it. So it is very relevant. I think, and I find it very interesting that a lot of our influencers will post quotes about, um, say, Denzel Washington, and I love Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
Post quotes from Maya Angelou, and I'm talking to people who I respect and appreciate.
Yes.
But as Jamaicans, we're not posting quotes from Marcus Mosiah Garvey and
Mm,
other persons who have paved the way and opened the door. Because the fact of the matter is, and I look at it and I said, the movie that could be made about Marcus Mosiah Garvey's life.
mm,
So,
That
see,
is yeah. What is happening that we keep repeating Marcus Garvey measures and the youth will bring it to effect as we are witnessing in Africa. Somebody just thought that. And that's what it is.
mm,
Let us, those of us who are, say, have the knowledge about Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
mm,
And I blame myself because I had promised myself that starting the 1st of August, I was going to share a Marcus Messiah Garvey quote every day on social media.
And
But
tag me, and then I can share it as well.
so I did not.
Yes.
I actually started creating a video because I was reminded by Facebook, or Facebook have a way of reminding you of the things that you have posted. So I've been searching for it. They sent me a message about something I posted a while back about Marcus Messiah Garvey, and I didn't get a chance to repost it, and I've lost it. But I'm saying that those of us who know the influence and the changes and the transformation that he's made need to start. You have your motivational moment
Yes.
in the morning. Post a Marcus Garvey quote.
You're right. You're right about that. Yes.
We and we have persons who follow us. So post that. Post it on YouTube. Post it on IG. Post it on TikTok. So starting today and for the rest of the month, let's commit ourselves for the rest of August, starting today, post something that Marcus Garvey has said and how it has influenced you, and ask other persons to chime in.
Yes.
That's where we start. I think it's Antoine was talking about the money that needs. You don't need a lot of money to put things on TikTok. You don't need a lot of money to put it on X. You don't need a lot of money to put it on YouTube. My students tell me Facebook is for old people, but some of our old people don't know. So put it on Facebook as well. Yeah, them tell me, Miss, we're not on Facebook. Facebook are for old people.
Yeah.
So let's use the TikTok, and put something. My first TikTok post that I made, my students set up my TikTok account. The first TikTok post that I made was about the Windrush generation. And they come to class asking me about it.
Yeah. So
they didn't have a clue. They knew nothing about Windrush generation. But because my grandfather was a part of the Windrush, he's now deceased, was a part of the Windrush generation, who went to the UK, and he took up his first child, and they moved from UK to Canada. That's on my father's side.
Yes.
But when I posted that thing on Windrush generation, they came into the class and started asking about it.
Okay, because they follow you. Thanks. O'Neill, you wanted to say something here, O'Neill.
So there's an interesting theme that I keep hearing and cut across a lot of young people that I talk to. And the theme is about what the government is not doing. But as we're talking, there's so many different platforms, and Jacqueline just mentioned it, where I'm not trying to pick on Vibes Cartel, but I think Vibes Cartel add cultural influence in Jamaica that we're seeing the impact of it today, right? So if he could use those messaging to influence a generation, and we all agree that the teaching of Marcus Garvey is still relevant today, why are we not preaching it? Jacqueline just mentioned that she posts around the Windrush generation and it spawned a conversation. And I think we have to ask ourselves in a moment like this, when we probably will talk about the shootings in Clarendon, is how each of us who are in Jamaica or in the diaspora influence in a positive way. Silburn, you have your walk and talk moment. Everybody could have their walk and talk moment, right? So I would say, Anton, Uche, be that generation who become influential, right? And the way you become influential, you have to build that bridge. Marcus Garvey teaching was, self-reliance, build the bridge, right? Uche is some part of Jamaica, you're some part of Jamaica. Why is it that you and Uche are not creating that movement? You talk about Liberty Hall. Why doesn't Liberty Hall become that gathering spot, right? You talk about it's there as a museum. Why doesn't it become a gathering spot, right? There's a Liberty Hall in Boston, and it's a gathering spot, right? wherever it is. It doesn't have to be Liberty Hall. It could be somewhere. Create that movement where you could influence other folks across the island who come together, regardless of what color you wear, but you're doing it in the interest of uplifting the people of Jamaica. And if you could do that, that's where you get the viral moments, and that's where you could create culture and impact in a way that we have not seen.
Yeah. And that's so true, because what I just went to pick up off my shelf a while ago is the book of Marcus Garvey here. You know, we talk about collected writings and speeches of Marcus Garvey. You know, and as what you said, Jacqueline, it is so right. One can actually just, you know, say I'm out there, I'm just using it as an example. Say I'm out there in the mornings when I take a walk and I do my motivational stuff. I can just grab one thing and say, okay, the Marcus Garvey thought for today, you know, and ask person what they think about that, because I believe that we you know, Antoine and Uche, I think we have to, what do you call it, flog the horse, what, tail to wag the dog. We can't wait for things to happen. We got to do it, because the generation which is coming up, if we don't tell them, they're going to be growing up and they don't know nothing about Marcus Garvey and have nothing to be able to tell their children. You know what I'm trying to say? So I believe the onus is definitely upon us at this time. But why? Let me go now. But why is it so important for people to know about Marcus Garvey, the teachings of Marcus Garvey at this time? And I'm going to link this directly to even the killings recently in Clarendon of the 8 persons, whereby we're seeing Jamaicans killing Jamaicans. You know, hold on. This is not like what's happening in the UK, you know, where you have racial war, you know, between colors and races. You know, we're talking about black people killing black people. Who want to go first on that one?
If connecting Marcus Garvey to what happened, it's respect for self. It's respect, knowing, and it goes back to what he talks about, knowing your history and where you're coming from. Because if you know your history and where you're coming from, and the struggle that we have had as Jamaicans, you see, what has happened is that, and I've seen it coming out on social media now, is that we have allowed our children to be babysat by television, and most of what comes out
Yeah,
Jacqueline froze.
I think she froze. Antoine, until Jacqueline come back, your thoughts on what I just said a while ago.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Let me see.
He's on mute.
Yeah, I think he
no, he's on mute. He's on mute.
Yeah, I'm saying to him that he needs to unmute.
You have to unmute. No, you have to unmute.
Yeah, 1 second, he's coming.
Maybe make sure you didn't mute him, Silver.
No, I didn't actually, because I can't seem to unmute him.
Oh, everyone is spinning around. I don't know what is happening there. Is that a Jamaica? Well, it doesn't happen to you, so it must be a Jamaica thing there. If anything, did Jamaica have a light out or a timeout? The great firewall just kicked in.
The great firewall just kicked in.
You can't talk about Marcus Garvey.
But until they come back, though, I think it is so very crucial. And ladies and gentlemen, the up you mighty race, have self-respect for people and so like that. You know, how can we, as a people, you know, go around killing each other? And I don't know. You're from Clarendon. I don't know if you can share some thoughts on your thinking. I believe you're in Jamaica when the shooting happened. You know?
Yeah, I was actually there for a couple of days. I think it's the same day I left. They had the shooting. Um, it's sort of a build-up. I look at it, Silburn, is
Yes.
if I go back and you go back into the archive of the topics that we have touched and um, since the inception of Talk and Sip, we've talked about crime in Jamaica at length,
Yes.
right? We have had on multiple guests that talks about crime in Jamaica. Um,
Mm.
there was an event, I think it was last year, where someone used a high-powered rifle and shoot up a bus, killed two individual. Right, the
Yes.
government came out and said, we're going to catch all the perpetrators, etc. But that didn't create that urgency. It seems to say there's something changing in the dynamics and the criminality within Jamaica. It's getting much more barbaric, right?
Mm.
And I think Sunday last week was a culmination of the many ones and twos where someone decide to send a message across Jamaica that look, the criminal is in charge. Because for someone to be so brazen, Silburn,
Mm.
and go to a place, force parts in Clarendon, and people were having fun. I'm not sure the event killed 8 people, injured 10. Right. And the interesting thing that transpired afterwards that I have been thinking about is that the the state, and when I say the state, I mean the police, etc. They seem to come out and say these are people that we had on our radar.
Yes.
So the question becomes, Silburn, if the government had these people on the radar, why wait until they up their game
Mm.
to sort of take um, the necessary steps,
Mm.
right? We've talked about what caused crime. People talk about poverty. People talk about social mobility, etc. Right? But
Yes.
you know, when you and I grew up in Jamaica, we do have folks who were under resourced or poor, right?
Mm.
They didn't go about and do some of these things. So
Yes.
the thing that I sort of thought about is what is the government going to do now,
Mm.
right? Because for example, they came out and they named that there are persons overseas, there are persons in the penitentiary that are part of this process.
Yes.
There are technologies out there, right, that you could put. So it's not like Jamaica has 50 penitentiary, right?
Mm.
Why not put technology to block signals, cell signals going in and out of the penitentiary?
Mm.
Why not have CCTV in areas of high crime? Why not put more security force so you could have 24/7 and put mobile police units in areas that are considered? Why is it that you don't have a permanent mobile station in certain areas that are
Mm.
considered, right? The government put out the state of emergency in Clarendon, but they had the SEO zones, right?
Yeah.
Why not employ those things? So I come to realize this, Silburn, is if you really want to do something about it, Jamaica is not the United States, right?
Mm.
It's not like the criminals are not using cell phones. It's not like they're not driving. The one thing I keep, and I said it today, Silburn, is if you go to Jamaica now, um, you see more Lamborghini than anything before. So the question you should ask yourself, if you have a person driving a Lamborghini and that person don't work, where's that person getting the money from?
Great
Mm.
question.
Right? So you're
Great
seeing all of this.
question.
These things are not hidden.
Mm.
These things are out there. So if there needs to be legislation reform, if there needs to be XYZ, why are you waiting until there terrorizing the citizen, right? I was at a spot in Jamaica. I saw 6 Lamborghini. One Lamborghini cost to bring to Jamaica close to $1 million.
Mm.
So if you don't, if you see these things out in the open, you ask yourself, right? So Silbert, it's one of those things where the prime minister said these are terrorist act, right? So it's that if it's a terrorist act, why are you not now putting every resource there to say, look,
Deal
this
with
is the
terrorism.
tipping point. This is the
Mm.
tipping point. Because if I'm a a person in Jamaica who live in whatever community, now you're scared because you're saying if they could do that in Four Parts Clarendon, they could do it anywhere because
Yeah.
it's blatant, right? And I think this is where the government needs to really come out. And this is where you need the opposition, you need the current administration. This is where the diaspora, a lot of time, we talk about the diaspora, some of our diaspora people, they talk too much and they don't help.
Mm.
In these instances, this is where there needs to be a collective come together to say enough is enough. And the government has to show, starting with its own self,
Yeah.
to self-reflect and say, what should we do? How do we ensure that this doesn't happen? Because you can't tell me, I'll use another example where I think it was beryllium,
Mm.
they were being targeted. You can't tell me there were criminal element targeting these um, vehicle that carry cash around, and for
Mm.
2 years you couldn't find them. There
Mm.
are technologies such as drones. There's all these things that you could employ. So the question is that why is it that all these things are not employed, right?
Yeah. I'm going to bring back Jackie, Becky, and pick up back from where you left off. But in the UK, for argument's sake, if there's any killing or any sort of terrorist act or something like that, or somebody killed someone, even the recent killing of the three girls in Jamaica and the stabbing, one of the questions which was asked were these persons being monitored by the state? You know, and any act, they always say, were they being monitored? And then the question and the impact it would have and criticism of the police or whatever like that, MI5 or whatever like that, were these persons being monitored? But there's something I saw today after I spoke to you, Uchi. I went to look up El Salvador, and this is what the guys did. This is what the guy did.
Officials together in one room and then announced that they're all under investigation for bribery.
Como pueden ver ustedes todos, los que estamos aquí reunidos son parte del Ejecutivo, del órgano ejecutivo, que es
All right, to cut a long story short, right there, all the guy was saying, and what he's saying there now is that when he took over as government, he put all of them to investigation. All of them were going to be investigated, and I believe, and many people are saying this is, I believe in Jamaica there's a bankruptcy of the wills that fuel crime, and this is a letter that I wrote many years ago in the paper in Jamaica. It got letter of the day. It was P.J. Patterson was the prime minister. Peter Phillips was the minister of national security, and the letter I wrote was bankruptcy of the wills fuel crime, because it seems like there is not that intentional. They're not intentional to deal with crime collectively and together and working together. Jacqueline.
You're quite right, because some things that Anil was talking about it's not rocket science. And if we can see that on the ground, what are the steps that needs to be taken? And it all boils down to the will and what is it that you want and you're interested in achieving, and what is more important to you as a governing government. And that includes the prime minister and the other members of parliament. I'm including everybody, right? It makes no sense you go into a political rally and you speak about what needs to be done. Let's not speak about what needs to be done. Let's sit down at the table and talk about what needs to be done. And what it is you're willing, we need to put this in action to ensure that this happens. And there's always when he was talking about Lamborghini, a Jamaican youth see that and he wants to achieve that by any means necessary. That's what I want. So I am going to get it any means necessary. And whatever ways that I'm going to get it, I was speaking to a group today of men who were planning to initiate a mentorship program. And I said to them, say, any mentorship program you're going to start, you need to start it from the primary school. As an educator, you need to start there. Because by the time they reach high school, grade 7, they're already involved in certain things. So you need to start from the primary school, because a lot of us as parents have given up, given our role over, don't know how to parent, don't know how to the values. We're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I sit down and listen to parents speak. And them can't bother. And them people willing to give up them child to the state. It's not a village raising a child anymore. And you see, I've observed, I've worked in education for 17 years. And I've seen where the Catholic Church speaks of, give me the child for the first 3 years.
Yes.
And they will be a Catholic for the rest of their life. The Catholic Church speaks of that. Give me your child from 0 to 3, and they will be a Catholic for the rest of their life.
Yes.
What are we putting into our children? What are the values? Because if it is that we had put certain values in our children and stop letting our TV and the social media raise our children, we would not have had what happened in 4 parts happen. Because the respect for life, what saved us as Jamaicans first and foremost, irrespective of who you want to be, was our faith. And when you are being in faith, where you, vengeance is mine, said the Lord, and you're going, hold on to that. Forgiveness is what was taught to us who grew up in the church. A lot of our children, when I sit down and I do an intake, and part of my intake as a social worker, one of the questions we ask, what denomination do you belong to? What religion do you belong to? It starts, what religion do you belong to? And then it goes on. The next one is, what denomination are you? You know, much of them tell me, say them belong to any denomination at all. Give me 10 for the day. And sometimes not even one. Not even 1 out of the 10 for the day have any connection with God. And that's where we have lost the mark. Because if we have a connection with any God, whether Rastafarian, whether Christianity, whether Muslim, there is a respect for life that is taught faith-based.
Within each of these denominations and these religions.
Each of these denominations, me no business with them things. Then.
Yeah.
What can I do for me? We have to do it for myself. That's what I get.
So you know, keep going, Jacqueline.
That's what I get. That's my experience. And it has gotten worse since I started 7 years ago till now, working with young people.
So you're saying then also it is not the advent of social media and cameras that is making you see these things. It has gone to a crisis proportion.
So I think Jackie said something before, which I think it's important. There are 2 policies, I think. So when I went to Edwin Allen, Jacqueline, the teachers had sort of the wherewithal in terms of teaching, logic, right? You were taught not based on to go pass an exam. You were taught things to make sure that you understand the content. But there was a movement that talked about inequalities between the secondary schools and the high schools. And policies were made to say every school in Jamaica should be a high school. But if you go back to when I went to Edwin Allen, it was an Edwin Allen Comprehensive High School. There are kids there that they were doing woodwork, electrical. There are kids there that were in what we call the A grades. You had A, B, C group. Most of the folks in the C groups, they turned to trades, and the B groups. But that created a mechanism where you have trades. People were plumbers, people were mechanics, builders, etc. It seems, Silburn, that policy, I don't remember when, that has created a generation out of the high schools. And if you didn't go to the university, now you don't have a trade. What do you do?
All right. Let me respond to that, O'Neill. In the schools, we still have that being taught in terms of the trade.
No,
And the
sorry. I'm
skill
not
set.
saying it's not being taught. I'm saying that you could go into school at grade 7, and that's all you did for the 5 years. That's all you did for the 5 years. You didn't have to do physics. You didn't have to do chemistry. You didn't have to. You didn't have to do. You just go, and they knew that you were gonna be someone that's gonna go towards the trades. So for 5 years, that's all you did. You didn't have to do all the things that the folks in the A and the B class did, B grades did. You just focus on trade. I don't know if they still do that, Jacqueline. That's what
Yeah, they still do that, but I'm saying that our youngsters are not interested in that, because even if you are doing it, it's too much hard work. It's too much hard work. So I want to do something where we can make some quick money. Me have to hustle. That's what I'm hearing.
It's a microwave mentality of getting things done quickly.
Thank you very much, Silburn. It's the microwave mentality where you want instant. You don't want to work for anything.
So Jackie, what's the difference then where, someone who come out as a plumber, a plumber in New York City could make $300,000 a year, $400,000 a year, right?
Some persons are realizing that no.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. What was the difference
some of my
then?
young people who have graduated from high school. I was messaging somebody yesterday. He proudly showed me a video, sent me a video. I said, "Miss him work here." He was styling.
So Jackie, what was the difference? What was the difference?
Let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you what it is, and it goes back, because that's my experience. It goes back to parents encouraging their children to value education and value honest, hard work
with integrity.
And integrity with capital letters, through integrity. That's what it goes back to. Now, when you have a parent who, if a child comes home with something and you never give it to them, you turn up. If your child come, all right, you were saying something on it earlier. If your child come home with a cell phone and you never give it to them, and you do nothing about that, as a parent, you didn't buy that and give it to them, Talking about parent. You did not buy that cell phone and give that child, but the child comes home with a cell phone. And what do? Nothing.
Miss Jackie, back in the day, you do that, the piece of whooping you get.
That's what I'm talking about. The value system. Look here. I would have to stop at the gate
Uh,
and check my bag for a pencil. Yeah, pencil. What me
Mm.
never get.
Yeah.
Because my bag was going to be checked.
Yes.
So when my bag was going to be checked, I make sure that I check it before because you're what? Where you get this from? I wear it like Clark's the daddy. I understand better. So when you get the Clark's the daddy, and that would be the question. And if you say, I never give it to you, so you're what? Me never give it. So any which way you get the Clarks from, you need to care about the Clarks and the cell phone. That's not happening. That
In-
is not
yeah.
happening. So a child will come in and being part of certain kind of activities and bringing certain kind of money.
Yeah.
You are actually, I know parents will send out them children for going stoplight for go clean for carrying money. Clean car glass for carrying money. I send them out for go work.
Yeah. Well, listen.
So
let-
parents have given up their responsibility of being the persons. You have brought a child into this world, so you're supposed to put certain values into this child. You're supposed to make sure they're fed.
yes. Yes.
One more thing.
Yes, please.
I will never forget this. I will never ever forget this. One Monday morning, we do a breakfast program. I'm looking for some funding for it for restart it this come September. We do a breakfast program at our school. And when I went to school at 6:30 in the morning, there was no gas. So we couldn't do the breakfast program. The cook, they were going to get it in time to cook lunch, but the breakfast was not going to happen. This little boy came to me. And he said, Miss, no breakfast? I said, no, there's no gas. The tears full up in eye. This is Monday morning. And he said to me, Miss, from you give me lunch Friday. Finish the statement. Finish it.
He hasn't ate anything since.
Thank you very much.
So what you're saying then, Jacqueline, if you just extrapolate that across,
okay,
someone could come in and say to that kid, here's $10, go do X.
Thank you very much, Amir.
And that's where we get to where you're.
And that's where we get to what is happening in what happened in Clarendon. And other parts of Jamaica.
You know the interesting thing, Jacqueline, I had a conversation with a principal, and I won't name them, and he talked about a kid who was 15 years old that was into scamming. And he had this kid in his office talk to him. And the kid say, sir, I make more money in a week than you make in a month. And by the way, here's my car. And the principal said to him, well, there's two places for you. You're either going to end up in jail or dead. He said, that's fine.
Yeah, I get that.
He was like, that was okay.
I get that.
It tells you, go back to what you said about connection to something, right? Connection to whatever religion, whatever system. Most of us who grew up in Jamaica had to go to church, right? Once you turn 16, you might be able to get away not going a particular Sunday, right?
Yeah.
But you had to. So you were connected to something. And as you said before, Jacqueline, give the Catholic 0 to 3 year Catholic because you have something to connect to. Most of these kids don't have anything to connect with. And when you have a situation where you don't have the means, then to your point, is that person who is feeding you and giving you go do XYZ and Silburn, that's where I think the government collectively has to figure out how to cut that string. Because if you don't, it's a circular process.
Yeah.
It's going to continue because I have been in the system for 17 years and I have seen individuals who are connected. I tell them, I said, I've stood up on the graves of so many of my students.
Wow. Well, I'm going to bring
up
Yeah.
on the graves. I've seen them finger like this
Yes.
because it's so used to pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
And I've seen those. I've gone to church service, and I tell people between September to December of every year, I can tell you,
Yeah.
me I go a
Now,
funeral.
I'm gonna go to Uche. Action now, Jay. But before I do that, I just want to say thanks for persons who are joining. Those on Instagram, thank you, and those on TikTok and Facebook as well, and YouTube. I'm presently with Miss Jacqueline D. Brand, Jamaica Association of Social Work President, Action Now Jay, and O'Neill Cross in Virginia, and myself in the UK. You know, the 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 prime minister made a statement recently after the killing of the people in Clarendon, and he said something. Someone just said something a while ago, whereby he said, calling the gunmen them to come and put themselves forward and give themselves up, or you can meet your maker, or you can go to a judge. You can go to a judge, you meet your maker, you know. And I was speaking to Uche about that. Meet your maker or meet the judge. Uche, what did you say about that? You're saying that the, the, there's more to that. What were you saying about that statement there? And I'm not going to go into the Justice for Jamaica people yet.
As I expressed earlier,
Mm.
there are always two ways to get things done. You can do the sustainable way, or you can do the easy way. That really it's just a quick thing, nothing substantial behind it.
Mm.
And humans always, typical humans, we love easy. We love the easiest way out of anything. You understand? Jamaica has a history of crime, and it is multifaceted. It has political interference, international interference, and all sort of things intertwined into the crime issue that we have, right? Again, the Prime Minister is looking the easy way out, because we had the conversation.
Yep, you there? You're here.
Yes, here. Am I still being heard?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Um. Okay.
There's some feedback coming in, but we're
Yes.
hearing.
I
Our
think
internet,
you
our
guys have
in,
an internet issue there in Jamaica, there, Jacqueline,
yeah, we
because
are. We're having it.
because everybody just went out a while ago. Antoine, Action, and yourself all went at the same time. O'Neill
Yes.
and I will remain. Yes, Action, you're back. We got Flo to sort it out. Yeah. Or did you sell whichever one it is?
Yeah, I'm not. Something strange is happening this afternoon, but we move.
Yeah.
So, as I was sharing with you earlier, if we really want to do something about crime, right, it has to be a national response, right? We cannot. All right. So it's not about the government alone, and it's not about the people alone. It has to be the government and the people together. It has to be a national response. You understand? The government needs to ensure that political representatives are not connecting with criminals, right? And that is why the El Salvador president, he started by investigating his ministers to
Mm,
ensure that they are corruption free. You understand?
mm,
But I dare the current prime minister. I dare him to do that. And I tell you, if he does that, 50% of the crime problem that we have in this country is already solved. I dare Andrew Michael Holness to investigate all 63 member of parliament, right? including himself, right, to ensure that they are corruption
Both
free.
sides of the fence. Both sides of the
Both
fence. They
sides. You
investigated.
understand? And after that is done, we need to utilize the military, because in the process of El Salvador becoming the one of the safest places in the world now, the military played a main part in cramping down on gang violence. So the military worked simultaneous with the police. You understand? A place like Fort Park, Clarendon, the entire parish would have been barricaded with military, and every single house searched, every single resident interrogated to ensure that no evidence of criminality is happening there. But that is not happening. They send 5 or 6 or 7 soldiers for SOE in these areas and believe that is not going to happen. You understand? That is not effective. You understand? You need thousands of soldiers to flood these parishes, maybe not every one of them, but these areas that are tense with violence, flood them with the military, you understand, as opposed to sending them to IT for what reason I don't know. You understand? Send the soldiers in these communities to search, to intervene in the operations of the people, as O'Neill said. You understand? You cannot have young men in the communities that are not working. How do they survive? How do they survive? They must be involved in something or another for their survival. And most of the times, these things are illegal things. They are not doing it legally. You understand? So when you have a community filled with young men, young women, they are not going to work on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, you see them they look more astute than you are, because they're in the
Prosperous than you
cleanest
who are going
clothes.
to work every day.
You understand? They're in the cleanest clothes, the latest fashion, and all of that. And these are not concerning to you. You understand? So we have to observe. We have to observe, and again, the Prime Minister is looking for the easiest way out. But these are the things that we need to do, right? And we also need to provide opportunity, you understand, for our youths. One of the things the president did, he also, in one of the phases, he also ensured that those teenagers, those persons that are not involved in gangs, are given educational opportunity, they are given skills and all of these things, they're given training. You understand? There's a lot to do.
Do you believe there's a cross-purpose message going through? Because there was there's a word that came through recently by a government, some about reparation. So it's a form of reparation, or so. Is there some sort of subtle message at the same time going through to young people from those above? And sometimes these words just drop out of their mouth sometimes, but is there something going on at the same time?
They have twisted Marcus
Yes.
Garvey's message to suit, because they've used it, reparation and self-reliance, in a different kind of way. And the dialogue needs to be
Criminalized
open.
it.
They've made it use these two things to get young men and young women into scamming, because reparation and self-reliance and self-defense and taking back what the white people in. And I ask the question, these individuals who are 60 years old, or a little bit more, 70 years old, who have retired, some of them don't have no riches, but yet still you're talking about reparation and taking back what them take from black people. Get your facts straight. Get your facts straight. So they use this to brainwash them, so that you have this entitlement. You're entitled. And that is one of the thing I find with young people of today. You're entitled to get anything. And it's not only from US, them entitled to get things from you as a Jamaican. You feel that I get up and go to work every morning and I collect my salary at the end of the month, and you come to me, Miss Beggy, a drink, no? And I must take out my money and give it to you.
So,
right?
You dare not say no.
Tell them, say, make sure, say, anytime I do anything, make be like the Prime Minister. Make sure I'm 6 feet under, because if I'm alive and still around, when anyone do me anything, I know where the bodies are buried.
See, the interesting thing I was thinking, and I don't know if it happened. I haven't seen a press conference with both the current prime minister and the opposition leader.
Yeah.
Talking to the people of Jamaica.
Yes.
How serious this matter is and how we will come together.
I said they need to get together in a room and come back to us with a plan.
But that's what it's like. I haven't seen it. I've seen the
How can they have a press conference if them don't meet face to face? This is a crisis that is happening in our country. Right. And let me tell you something. As a social worker in Jamaica, who have had to deal with certain things, when you have social workers have a caseload of 200, they're not putting the money where it's supposed to go. Yeah. They're not putting the money where it's supposed to go. The social workers are leaving university and are not being employed.
And you make,
and they know the sores and they know the scars. They know where the bodies are. We know.
But Jacqueline,
you are not using the skill and that we have and the knowledge we have to change Jamaica. You're not sitting down with us.
But even to add to that, Jamaica don't have. If you just look at things coming in and out of Jamaica, it's a very few entry and exit points, right? If we're saying that there are people on the international scene that are involved, I didn't see the FBI from the US or the Scotland Yard or the Mount Police in Canada
in that press release,
Jamaica,
press conference,
in the press conference saying we are here to help because this is a crisis. Because until there's a wholehearted effort to stem the flow of weapons in Jamaica, and
we don't make weapons.
We don't make weapons, right? And because weapons. How is it that you have the ports, right? You have camera surveillance system, Silver. How is it that I haven't seen a request to say, look, we need the FBI to help us. We're going to put some RICO case involved. We need the Mount Police in Canada to help us. We need Scotland Yard to come help us.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those requests.
One second. I'm in the legal field, and sometimes one can always make requests. Well, again, I was going to make requests for phone logs for persons within prison with outside persons. But at the same time, I think a lot of them have mobile phones inside the prisons. So that goes against the whole traditional official way of, having these sort of logs. So there's got to be a massive. But what do you think about what the Prime Minister, what Justice for Jamaica said when the Prime Minister said, meet your maker or the judge, whichever one, you have a choice. And Justice for Jamaica apparently came out and was sort of criticizing or challenging, or maybe they are being, according to human rights, and it is deemed as if to say they are more leaning towards the criminals and did not actually come out and say condolences to the family. What's your take on that? I'll go for you, Jacqueline. What's your...
As the Prime Minister of the country, what I am suggesting, is that all the members of the Parliament should have met and come out with a strategy
Mm.
instead of what for me, I don't think it was an emotional reaction.
Mm.
It was not a logical, well thought out reaction
Yes.
from the prime minister of our country. That's what it looked like to me,
Yes.
right? We need to sit down and come up with a plan. Put the PMP and the GLP
To
and
one
other
side.
kind of P them aside.
Even action
This
now. Put action
country
now to
is in
one
a
side.
crisis, and we need to come together. They need to come together as leaders of this country that have been elected.
Yeah.
And Jamaicans should have shut this country down.
Mm.
Nobody, after that incident, nobody should have got up the next morning and gone to work. We should, and that's it. That's because we do not connect with Marcus Garvey. That's why we don't do that.
Yeah.
Because if we had a connection with Marcus Garvey and understood what he was talking about, then the following morning after that killing happened, that massacre happened, Jamaicans, every single Jamaican should have stayed at their house and made the statement that everybody.
You know,
Strong.
Jacqueline, why I believe that has not happened is because it has become a regular thing. It's 2 here, it's 3 here, it's 8 here, right? And I think Silburn, I think somehow we have to figure out a segment of the diaspora
Mm.
who are serious, because you have diaspora member that they talk a lot, but I think you and I and other in the diaspora who are serious should figure out how do we really engage in a meaningful way, not how people have been engaging and turn it into political
Football. Yeah.
football. Let's figure out how we engage, because I think there's a place for folks who are serious. There's a ton of Jamaicans who are helping other countries with these matters that can engage in a meaningful way. I think there's a lot of, so Jacqueline, there's a lot of people that I know that will help, but they stay away because there's these empty barrel that make noise. And unfortunately, the government sometimes listen to these empty barrels and nothing gets done. So I think, Silburn, this should be a moment for us to figure out who are the serious people that
Yes.
we could mobilize to really help the Jamaican government in a way that we have not helped before.
And the point that Jacqueline mentioned there a while ago in regards to a national crisis and in regards to whereby the opposition leader, the prime minister, and all different parties are key players should be sitting down together to find a solution. I'm going to juxtapose with the UK now. Whenever there's anything of a national crisis, the whole country come together. You can see them in parliament, and the opposition leader and the prime minister, they are clapping each other's back and saying, yeah, thank you for the prime minister for sharing me in advance the speech or so. And you can see there's a collective thing. One other thing which I want in the UK, I just juxtapose as well, is that in regard to the immigration issues and the multiculturalism, I believe very strongly in the UK that there need to be a cross-party consensus in that. And I'm going to put that now with Jamaica. I believe regarding crime, you need to stop all this sorry, when I say not stopping it, but there need to be a working together. There need to be a coming together really between the prime minister, the opposition leader, and stop. Sometimes they say you hold back certain ideas because you don't want them to get it from. But we're at this point now in Jamaica, just like the earthquake. When the earthquake came, I knew
I was just thinking about that.
yeah, as it came, I knew instantly. I mean, I had to put and said, listen, I was mapping it and I said, my sister in Olap and my sister in Ochi, all of them feel it at the same time. So I'm saying, and then people start to come in, you start to, and I say, hang on a second. I had to say I felt it because the people of Jamaica was just sharing it. So in a way, I had to say I felt it too while I'm in the UK. But the point I'm trying to say right there is that in regards to crime, we also feel it. And I believe that it has got to step up to a high level. And actually, no, Jay, just like the El Salvador thing, I always say this: there need to be some serious investigation, but I don't know who is going to start by, or who is going to bell the cat, because you can't ask the same persons to start that process. You got to have somebody that come in who has no axe to grind, not looking forward to another 5 years or 10 years in government, but just wanting to come in to clean up the place.
Silver, in the US, we have what we call select committees. And
Yes.
what select committees does, and in the UK, I forget what it's called, where when
We,
time of crisis,
yes,
right?
select committees as well. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
In time of crisis, you pick X member from the opposition, X member, and you give them enough power to go investigate and come back with solutions that are
Yes.
meaningful, that gets reported out to citizens, right? It's the
Like the
same
inquiry, like the
inquiry.
inquiry. Kind of thing,
So, so,
yes.
so I'll give you a similar, not similar, but if you just look at the energy that the government and everyone is putting in to replace the king,
Yes.
right? In Jamaica, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of mobilization. Why not put that same type of energy in this effort, which
Well,
is so critical
there's not
for the
much more.
Jamaican people?
There's not much energy there, O'Neill. I just want to say that.
But you see what I'm saying is that
But I
you
understand where you're
point
coming from. Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
point someone, you point a committee, and you have right. You have to demonstrate to the Jamaican people
yeah.
that you're serious, because at the end of all of this, whoever are perpetrating these crimes, someone know them. They have
Mm,
mothers, they have sisters, they have brothers. They're
mm,
going somewhere for shelter, right?
mm.
You don't have someone driving around with the amount of firepower that these guys have, and nobody don't know
Yes.
about it, right? So I think it's something that I hope over the coming weeks is that the opposition and the current party could come together,
Mm,
you know, and come up with something that could put trust back into the Jamaican people, because any community that you're living in right now, the anxiety that this issue in Fort Park has caused,
mm.
you got to figure out how to bring back the trust and trust in the state, and I hope, Silburn, that you will see some leadership come out of this in the
Mm.
interest of the Jamaican people, and I hope one will put their colors aside and
Yes.
realize that we're at a serious moment in Jamaica, where we're at a tipping point. We're one step from the precipice,
Yeah.
and if
And
we
you,
don't figure out how to pull back, we have serious issues.
and you're right. There are so many voices and so many noises. Let's use the word. So many noises, really. So many noises. Jacqueline, solutions. Let's go back to the Marcus Garvey bit there. What are some of the things? One thing I pick up from today, which I'm going to do, and we're going to have a collective thing right here now, is for these quotes or these mottos or so. If we can start to have a list of them, if anything,
I've got them, so I can send them to you.
yeah, yeah, and then we start to post them daily. And when I'm out there in the park walking and do some good videos or so, 2-minute video. What did Marcus Garvey mean by this? And then sort of see if we can create a ripple effect and start a movement. Start a movement. I mean, this movement should have been big long time, isn't it?
I tell you,
Yeah.
you're right. There has to be a solution, but the one thing is that I always have confidence in the Jamaican people, and I think
Yeah.
this is going to mobilize folks across every part to come up, and we need to figure out how to help Silburn. So that's
And
my last word.
yeah, and Jacqueline, I go to Uchi after. Jacqueline, how can the people be motivated? Because one time, Jackie, I was saying this, with some of the things which are happening in Jamaica, I was saying there should be a day when Jamaicans just step out of their house and stand up in front of them yard, and don't move. Just like what you said right there about saying not going to work. Just get out of your house, stand up in front of your house, and just stand up like this. All Jamaicans in solidarity in crucial times when crucial events happen.
We need that. We need to come together as a people and say enough is enough. And every single one of us hold our governments accountable for, because there's some things that I know for sure that there are some. Somebody said the problem is Black Jamaicans. The rest are getting on fine. It is no, it's and you may be right when you said that, but it is that we're not making the connection that we don't, some of us who are not able to afford the Lamborghini, right? Those who can afford the Lamborghini, that this is affecting, this affects all of us. There's a ripple effect. And if it is happening, it happened in 4 Pass, it is going to come at your doorstep.
Yes. It's a cycle. If you don't
until it comes to your doorstep, we don't do anything about it.
Yes.
There's no hue and cry.
Yeah. Thanks. Uche, your last word, Uche.
So the comment that came in just now that the black Jamaicans. Now I don't know if there's any evidence to that, because the ports are privately owned, right? I'm not aware if we know that the ports Jamaica are mostly privately owned, and the private sector are not Black Jamaicans. They are very eye-colored Jamaican people. You understand? So the influx of gun coming into the country is going through their channel. You understand? So we have to rethink that kind of thing, right? No, as O'Neill said earlier, he wishes for some kind of leadership to come from out of this crisis. But to be honest, I don't see it. I really don't see it. I don't see Jamaica making the necessary strides that we need to make as a country under the current political system. It is a very tribal, non-progressive system, and everything is about politics. As you said, Mark Golding nor Andrew Holness has not yet come together. The 63 members of parliament has not yet come together to see how best we can deal with this crisis. They have not, and it goes to show that the security, the safety, if you fail to keep, you fail as a government if you fail to keep your citizens safe, right? If you fail to keep your citizens safe, it is a X right there. You understand? So I believe, again, as O'Neill said, the diaspora, I believe that we have to intervene as a people. Those of us, I believe that we need to create a form of communication network, right? Like what Marcus Garvey did in the time when there was no internet, in the time when social media did not exist. He was able to communicate with millions of people worldwide. You understand? We have to, it is very important for us to create a communication network with each other, right? We have to use this time of technology and internet and social media to create a robust communication network where we can communicate with each other, so it will be easier for us to take a stand. It will be easier for us to organize and unify our efforts when we are dealing with things like these. You understand? So that is also something we need to take from Marcus Garvey. We need to create a robust communication network where we can communicate diaspora members with our mainland Jamaicans. And we deal with this, but we need to intervene. We all need to intervene. It is our national responsibility to intervene in our country, the affairs of our country, and to steer things in the right direction.
When I look at, there's a point I just want to say in light of what you said. When I look at what it said right here, that Marcus Garvey's legacy is one of the profound influence and inspiration, particularly within the African diaspora born in Jamaica in 1887. In 1887, and during that period there was a felt need. There was the issue of slavery. There was the issue of oppression at that time. So therefore, there was something that was actually galvanizing the Negro population together. Today, I think what we need to find out is what is it that can actually galvanize us together in a way for something to be moved. Because if he was able to do that, it was on the leverage of that movement of the felt need and the letters. We have social media now. We got all these things that can just happen, bam, 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 right away. We just
And
connect.
he did not have that, Silburn.
And he
He did not have that, but he impacted so many persons across the world. And the movement was all over the world, as far as Africa, London, US, other Caribbean country, and he did not have cell phone. He did not have Instagram, TikTok. He didn't have any of those things.
Well, that's
all he had was newspaper.
Yeah. Well, that is our challenge, and also the point about regarding the diaspora and all things to happen. I believe
2 million people.
Yeah, I think we've got to, in a way, the government is there, but somehow we have to sort of ignore that in a way to push it, right, O'Neill, in a way? Not ignoring them totally, but you got to operate as if they're not there. You know what I mean? To a certain extent, the tail wagging the dog. Ladies and gentlemen, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on. And O'Neill, thank you. Jackie, thank you so much again. And I'm sure the work that you're doing there in those communities with the social work aspect and the mental health aspect as well. We haven't touched that one yet. That's another big one.
I was thinking about that, the trauma.
The trauma.
Stress disorder.
We got to come back on that bit again. We talked about it during the COVID bit when we spoke a few times, but we got to come back on the whole trauma aspect of the mental health factor. Uche, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and thank Antoine, Mr. Campbell for giving us of his time earlier today as well.
I think he dropped because they're having a Marcus Garvey celebration at the Amis, Jacks Road, Mountain View area there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. All right. O'Neill, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys. All the best. Take care. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. And, we had a very good and frank discussion talking about Jamaica, talking about the legacy of Marcus Garvey. And there was a proclamation that today the 17th. Well, we are now the 18th in the UK, but the 17th in Jamaica is Marcus Garvey Day. Patrick Linton Allen, the former Governor General, member of the Order of the Nation Knight, Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Governor General, do hereby proclaim and make known that the 17th day of Jamaica, 17th day of August, in each year shall be designated as Marcus Garvey Day and shall be observed. I was also informed as well earlier, I think by my sister actually, and what she said. Let me go for it here. That there was where is it? The proclamation above was the brainchild of Miss Kathleen Cynthia Graham, OD retired secretary, now CEO of St. Anne Municipality Corporation. Leading with the blessing of SAMC in 2012, she ensured the Honorable Excellency, the Governor General, signed and effectively gave credence to the document. That was something which my sister sent a message to that effect. And if I read a bit, one of the last bits there was, Garvey's emphasis on economic independence was central to his philosophy. He believed that for Black people to achieve true freedom and equality, they needed to build and support their own business, institutions, and communities. This was exemplified by his creation of the Black Star Line, a shipping company intended to facilitate trade and transport between Africans in the diaspora and the African continent. Although the venture eventually and ultimately faced financial difficulties, it was a bold statement of Garvey's commitment to self-reliance and economic empowerment for Black people worldwide. The impact of Garvey's ideas continues to be felt today. His teaching influenced numerous civil rights movements and leaders, including Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Pan-Africanism that Garvey championed laid the groundwork for later African independence movements, and his message of Black pride, self-determination has remained a cornerstone of Black consciousness globally. Marcus Garvey's legacy is not only preserved in history, but also lives on in the ongoing struggle for racial equality and justice, making him a seminal figure in the fight for Black empowerment. But of course, tonight we reflected as to why it is not very prevalent, why the legacy is not taking place that much, why today the teachings of Marcus Garvey is not embedded in our school structure, just like civics, for argument's sake. And I'm referring to Jamaica, you know. But then, as Jacqueline said, and as we discussed earlier, the onus gonna be upon us. The onus gonna be upon our parents, on us, the parents, as well, to teach our children, because if we don't, then there's gonna be a gap. Just like when you go on the training in the UK, mind the gap. There's gonna be a gap whereby nothing will be known of Garvey unless we actually transfer that knowledge down. And as the book which I have here, which says Selected Writing and Speeches of Marcus Garvey. Very powerful, but there's much more. But one of the things that Jacqueline and I said tonight is that what we'll have to do is to find some of these quotes, and she has the quotes there, and to speak the quotes, discuss the quotes, ask questions about the quotes in a way, and therefore try to see if it can ricochet, see if it can replicate, see if it can repeat itself all over, because I believe that people can be inspired. And as O'Neill said, he has great confidence in the people of Jamaica to deliver and such. Ladies and gentlemen, and one more thing before I go, in regards to the crime in Jamaica, which we said, I just come down and double down on this. It is so important, and I turn off the music on this. And if any government persons are listening to this, and this is the sound of my voice, it is very important that the Prime Minister and Your Holiness and Mark Golding and any other parties come together, sit down, and find solutions for the people of Jamaica when it comes on to crime. We saw the El Salvador president, and what he said is that the first thing that he did was put all his close persons or cabinet people on the investigation. On the investigation. Who is going to investigate the 63 MPs? Who is going to investigate the Prime Minister? Who is going to investigate Mark Golding? Who is going to ensure that there is a clean slate, if anything? But for starters, I believe that they all need to come together and to let the people of Jamaica know that they are serious, not knee-jerk reactions, not emotional talk, but having that one-to-one meetings. Vale Royal or what? Clean up Vale Royal, fix up Vale Royal, and then you come together and find a solution. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Silver and Sidil. I want to thank you so much for joining tonight on Talk and Sip. I'm back next Saturday night, and Thursday night we have In Review. Peace out, and thank you so much. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.